Oh, but he wasn't done yet. When you think it's over, it's not over. Hey y'all, welcome and or welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is another true crime episode. So if you're ready, let's go. Alright y'all, so I did my nails the other day. Well, as a matter of fact, I did them yesterday. And they are super cute. I don't know if y'all can see that very well, but like we got the little ghosties going on here and the little spider webs. But y'all, when I tell y'all, this nail set pissed me off so freaking bad, like not even funny. These nails are coming off as soon as this video is done, because at this point these are press-ons. Okay, I did my nails and I took hours doing my nails, and I think it's the nail tips that I used this time. Baby, these things was popping like Tic Tacs. Okay, I don't know what was going on, so I just glued them back on for the sake of this video, and after this, coming right off. Now, when I started this video, it was cold down here. I was cold. So I decided to put on my robe. I decided to film in my robe today. But right now, I don't know if it's because the robe is nice and fluffy and thick and it's doing its job and it's keeping me nice and toasty, or if it's just heating up and now I'm hot. I don't know. Nonetheless, I'm hot now. Like, I feel like my skin is sweating and I don't like that. But yeah, one more thing before we get into the video. How cute is this cup? How cute is this skeleton wine glass that I got straight from the $1.25 tree store? It is so cute. I love it. So fitting for the season. And my favorite color is purple. You would think it was pink because pink everything. I'm a pink and purple girly, okay? I love pink and purple. Pink is a very close second to purple for me. But yeah, anyways, let's just go ahead and get right into today's video. And if you've been here for at least 2 weeks, you will know that I am doing a case from each state in alphabetical order. So from A to W, Alabama to Wyoming, for the next however long it takes. So if you missed Alabama and Alaska, those are the previous 2 videos, and today we are in Arizona. So it's close to midnight on September 14th, 1993, when a 20-year-old man named Albert Luna Jr., who we will call AJ for the remainder of this video, returns to his family home after, I believe he was spending the night at his girlfriend's house. Now, prior to returning to the family home, Albert was trying to call the house and nobody was answering the phone. And in that house lived his mom, his dad, his little sister, who was, I believe, 18 years old, and his 5-year-old brother. So that's 4 people who should be in that house, and one of them should be answering the phone. And nobody was answering the phone, so Albert was getting a little concerned, like, why is no one answering my phone calls when there's 4 people in that house? Anyways, nonetheless, AJ was a little concerned by this, so he left his girlfriend's house and headed on over to the family home. And once he got there, he quickly realized why no one had answered the phone. Because it is there in the kitchen where he found his mom, Patricia, and his 5-year-old brother, Damien, tied to chairs and deceased from gunshot wounds. And it's also there in the kitchen, lying at Damien and his mom's feet, that he saw his dad lying in a pool of blood, also deceased. And upon seeing this, AJ ran from the home and back to his girlfriend's house, where he called the police. Because remember, again, 1993, he didn't have a cell phone readily available to call 911 while he was driving to his girlfriend's house, and he damn sure wasn't about to stay in his house and call the police from his family phone. So no, he went to his girlfriend's house where he called the police. So the police arrived to the Luna family home a little bit after midnight on September 15th, and they discovered the 3 bodies that I just previously told you about that AJ had found in the kitchen. But in addition to those 3 victims, they also found a 4th victim in a bedroom tied to a bed, and this was AJ's 18-year-old sister, Rochelle Luna. So obviously an investigation ensued right away, and just 4 days later, by September 18th, they would have their suspect in custody. And it's similar to the last one, where homeboy couldn't keep his mouth closed. And this man's name was Richard Djerf. Now, a little bit about Richard. He was born on November 6, 1969, and he was described as a quiet loner type. But that's all I really read about him personality-wise. And as far as his upbringing, I didn't see too much of anything about that. But I know that in 1992, Richard was working as a night custodian at a Safeway supermarket where he became friends with one of his co-workers who was also a night custodian at that Safeway. And that co-worker was Albert Luna Jr., AJ. And I'm going to put in quotations friend because these two seem to be more like frenemies than actual friends. But I described them as that because that's how the news described them. But I really just don't think they was friends. I really think they was just co-workers who happened to know each other and maybe hung out once or twice outside of work. I really don't know the dynamics of that friendship or relationship or whatever it was. But in January of 1993, Richard's house was robbed. And the person who robbed him was AJ. And during this robbery, AJ took a VCR, a TV, a stereo system, a car alarm. Now, why he would take a car alarm, I don't know. And an AK-47. Oh, he could probably sell the car alarm or use it on his own car. I don't know. Nonetheless, anyways, Richard knew that it was AJ, or he had a really, really strong suspicion that it was AJ who had robbed him. And he reported this robbery to the police. And the police took the report, but there was nothing really, there was no investigation behind it. It was like, okay, you got robbed. This is what got taken. If we come across it, yeah, we'll let you know. Like, it wasn't nothing done. And naturally, this pissed Richard off. He was like, so I get robbed and y'all not gonna do nothing about it? I know who robbed me. I'm sitting here telling y'all out of my mouth who did this to me, and y'all not gonna pick him up? Y'all not gonna arrest him, handcuff him, and lock him up? Oh, okay, I bet. So from January to September, this anger and frustration about the police not doing nothing was just festering and boiling inside of Richard. And this is when Richard decided that he was going to take matters into his own hands. Because y'all not going to do nothing, fine, I will, okay? And this brings us to the late morning hours of September 14th, 1993, the day of the crime. So Richard makes his way over to the Luna family home where he knocks on the door, and in his hand he's holding a vase of fake flowers, and this is going to be used as a ruse to get him in the house, right? So Patricia opens the door, she sees this man there holding flowers, and she's probably excited that her man done sent her flowers just on a random Tuesday. But when she goes to grab the flowers, Richard pushes her aside and forces his way into the home. And this is where he dropped the flowers and brandished a gun. So now Patricia is being held at gunpoint in her home. And mind you, 5-year-old Damien is home as well. But like I said, it's the late morning hours. So I'm thinking like 10, 11-ish. So Mr. Albert Sr. is at work. Rochelle is at school. And AJ has stayed the night at his girlfriend's house. So he wasn't home either. And I guess Damien didn't go to school yet, and Patricia was a stay-at-home mom. So like I said, it's just those two in the house. And Richard, he came prepared. He knew that this was not just about to be no robbery, because in addition to the gun, he came ready with gloves, a knife, handcuffs, and a red fuse rope. So he knew that he just wasn't about to rob them and get out. So after forcing his way in, Richard forced Patricia into a bedroom where he tied her up. And during this tying up of Patricia, he's just letting 5-year-old Damien just run free, roam around the house and be a kid. Probably don't really even know what's going on at this point. But I guess Richard decided that that was a bad idea, because he then untied Patricia and held Damien captive and ordered Patricia to load the family car with valuables, like with stuff from the house. I guess he thought that maybe it would look a little less suspicious if Patricia was the one loading family items into the family car versus some random ass man that they had never seen before loading stuff. Somebody probably would have called the police and told them that the Lunas were being robbed, right? So he made Patricia load the family car with 2 VCRs, the house phone, a stereo player, watches, and a money clip with food stamps. And after Patricia loaded the family car with all these valuables, he didn't just take the car and leave. He didn't just rob them and leave, because like I said, he came prepared. He knew that this was not just about to be a robbery. So it's at this point, after the car is loaded, that he led Damien and Patricia into the kitchen where he tied them to chairs, where he pretty much proceeded to taunt Patricia and ask her, did she want to die first or did she want Damien to die first? And he was also asking about AJ, like, where's your son? Where's AJ at? Because that's really who I want to see. But if he not here, I could wait for him. You know, where he at? Where is AJ? But Patricia, she like, bitch, I don't know. He's a 20-year-old man. I don't fucking know. And this antagonizing lasts until about 3 o'clock when Rochelle returns home from school. And immediately upon entering the house, obviously she's not suspecting that her mother and her brother are being held captive. So she enters the house as usual, and she is ambushed by Richard, who leads her to the bedroom, ties her to the bed, and gags her as well. And unfortunately, that is not the end of Rochelle's ordeal. He cuts her clothes off and he essays her before stabbing her 4 times and cutting her throat. And the stab wounds and the injury to the neck are not the only injuries that Rochelle sustained, because it was also noted on her body that there were little nick marks. So it's believed that while he was essaying her, he was like poking her with the knife, not necessarily stabbing her. And she obviously fought hard, because and I don't know if this is an indication of her fighting hard or if he's just sick and sadistic, because her earlobe, like her earrings, were ripped out of her earlobes. So I don't know if that happened during a struggle or if he just wanted to do that. And it was also found during Rochelle's autopsy that during her torture, because that's what it was, during this torturous event that she went through, she had thrown up at some point. But remember, she's gagged, so the vomit had nowhere to go. So she ended up aspirating some of the vomit. And I don't know. The whole thing hurt my heart, but like the fact that Patricia could probably hear this, and me being a mom, right, to a daughter, I could not hear this happening to my child. I can only hope and pray that their house was big enough to where the room was far enough away from the kitchen where Patricia and Damien were being held that she didn't hear it. Like, and just poor Rochelle, she okay. Woo! So once Rochelle passes away, Richard goes back into the kitchen to taunt Patricia some more with the news that he had just essayed and killed her daughter. So now 4 o'clock rolls around and it is time for Big Al to come home from work, and he does as per usual. But unlike any other day, he's greeted by gun-toting Dick over here, and he is immediately handcuffed by, I call him Dick because he's a dick. Ain't that the nickname for Richard? Is it Dick? Rich Dick? Yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, after he's handcuffed, Richard makes him crawl into the master bedroom. And I can only imagine that he made him crawl to make himself feel bigger, like against a man, if that makes sense. He handcuffed him because he knew that Big Al would probably whoop his ass, and then he made him crawl to emasculate. Is it emasculate or demasculate? I think it's emasculate him. But I feel like that's what that was about. Anyways, he makes Big Al crawl into the master bedroom, and he made him lay face down on the bed, where he proceeded to beat Big Al over the head with a baseball bat. And I'm assuming that he thought Albert was dead at this point, because he unties his handcuffs and then he tapes them together instead, and once again went back into the kitchen to taunt Patricia with the news of her husband's death. And this is when Richard turns his attention to 5-year-old Damien. He tried to snap his neck like he sees in the movies, but that proved to be unsuccessful, and so Richard decided that he would try his hand at electrocution, but that proved to be unsuccessful as well. So while Richard is fucking experimenting on ways to kill people in the kitchen, Big Al is in the bedroom trying to free his wrists from the tape. Now, like I said, Richard thought Al was already dead, but somehow, some way, he wasn't. Now, he was badly injured and probably very weak from the blood loss, but this is just my own thought. I feel like Al was acting as a protector and a provider in this moment, where as long as he got breath in his body, he gonna fight to save his family. And fight he did, because he made his way into the kitchen with a pocket knife that maybe he either had on his person or that he kept in the bedroom. I don't know where he got this pocket knife from, but he made his way to the kitchen with a pocket knife, where he rushed Richard with all of his might and was able to stab him. Unfortunately, he was too weak from the blood loss, and Richard was able to get a hand up on him, where he was able to stab Albert and shoot him as well 6 times. And this is where he fell and passed away at the feet of his son and his wife. And after shooting and killing Albert, Richard looked at Patricia and asked her, and I quote, "Do you want to watch your kid die, or do you want your kid to watch you die?" And I don't think he waited for or even expected an answer from Patricia. And he proceeded to shoot Patricia and Damien once each in the head, killing them instantly. Oh, but he wasn't done yet. When you think it's over, it's not over, because he then doused the house and the bodies with gasoline and was about to attempt to set them and the house on fire with the red fuse rope that he had came with. But he decided against it because he realized that there was people outside, there was kids playing outside, and there was no way he was about to leave the house and have the house blow up without people seeing him, being able to identify him, and, you know, calling the police. So he scratched that idea and decided to do a slow burn instead, and turned on 2 eyes of the stove. And after he turned on the eyes of the stove, he put a pizza box on one and a dish rag on the other, hoping that it would ignite and burn the house down slower than what the red fuse rope would have done. So he does this and then leaves in the Luna family car that is loaded up with all of those things that Patricia had put in there previously. So after annihilating an entire family, Richard just goes home, where his girlfriend Emily Boswell is waiting for him. And upon entering his home, Emily is like, what the heck happened to you? Because remember, he was stabbed in this whole ordeal, so he's a bloody mess. And she like, excuse me, sir, what happened to you? And he said that he had got jumped by 2 dudes who tried to rob him, and they stabbed him in the process. So Emily takes him to the hospital, where he is treated for his stab wound. So 11:45 p.m. rolls around, and that's when AJ finds his family. He calls the police, and then the investigation ensues. And neighbors immediately have their suspicions, because AJ, he was into some shit. He wasn't the best Luna, okay? Because like I told y'all before, he had robbed Richard. He used to steal money from his jobs. He had a couple convictions. Like, he had a couple of run-ins with the law. And a couple of the neighbors felt like this could have been gang related, because AJ refused to join the gang. He said he was bad, but he wasn't gang bad. He wasn't trying to be affiliated or nothing like that. And because of this, they said that the Luna household had been targeted a couple of times for vandalism, and AJ's car window had been busted like twice. Like, it was a whole thing. So they thought that this was gang related. And while police didn't like latch on to this as a theory, they did note that AJ had been convicted of theft and burglary twice the prior year. And during one of the arrests, I think it was for the burglary, I don't really know, but during one of the arrests, he had a 25 caliber semi-automatic pistol on his person, and he said that he had that for protection from the gang members. So it was a plausible theory, but they wasn't taking it and running with it. They was going to investigate it, see if it panned out, but they wasn't just taking it at face value. And then a day after the murders, the Luna family car was found abandoned in just a random parking lot, and it was taken in for processing. Now, meanwhile, while the investigators is getting their investigation on, the perpetrator of the crime couldn't keep his mouth closed, like I told y'all in the beginning. So remember, he in the hospital while the primary steps of this investigation is going on, and he calls up Emily to talk to her. And Emily, thinking this is about to be a normal 1-2 convo, what the doctor say, how you doing, what you want to eat type thing. And he tells her that he's responsible for the quadruple homicide that they're talking about on the news. And this man went into detail. I'm talking, he told her about blood that was dripping from Patricia's gunshot wound. And he described it as really awesome and told her, you should have been there. Like, he was excited. Now, I don't really know what type of reaction he was expecting from Emily, but when it was time for him to check out of the hospital on the 16th of September, Emily was not the one who checked him out. And I don't know if it's because she was like, this man is a lunatic and I cannot be around him, or if she had some prior engagements and she was just unable to do so. But I'm leaning towards the latter, but I really don't know. So the person who ended up picking him up and checking him out of the hospital was his friend named Travis Webb. And when Travis picked him up, Richard refused to go back to his house. He said, that spot probably too hot. So he asked Travis to get him a motel room. So Travis dropped Richard off at a motel and paid for a room for him. And at some point during his motel stay, he called up his friend who lived in California and started to brag to him about what he had done as well. So now he's told Emily and he's told his friend from California. And you would think that he would be done with telling the masses about this crime. But no, he had one more person to tell, and that was Travis Webb. And again, I really don't know what he thought these people were supposed to say. I don't know if he wanted them to be proud of him. I don't know if he wanted them to be in awe. I don't know if he wanted them to be impressed. Like, what is it? And I really don't know if he thought that they was all going to be quiet. But if that's what he thought, he was wrong. Because 1, 2, or all 3 of them reported his ass. And they called the police like, ring-a-ting-ting, I got something to tell you. And that's how on September 18th, 1993, they was able to get a warrant to search his home, his car, and his motel. And when they did so, they found a treasure trove of evidence linking him to the crime. They found the family's VCRs, the caller ID unit, watches, handcuffs, Rochelle's necklace, Patricia's car keys, the house phone, and a bunch of newspaper articles in relation to the crime. And they found a bunch of other stuff too, and they promptly arrested his ass and charged him with 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree burglary, 4 counts of kidnapping, 1 count of SA, 5 counts of aggravated assault, 1 count of attempted arson of an occupied structure, 1 count of theft, and 1 count of misconduct involving a weapon. So 18 counts in total. And initially, Richard was appointed 2 defense attorneys. They were public defenders, but he was appointed 2 of them. But he decided that he did not need them. And so on February 15th, 1995, which was a year and some after his arrest, he filed a motion to represent himself. And the motion was granted. They found him fit to represent himself. And as a self-representative, he decided that he was going to take a plea agreement because he didn't want the death penalty to be on the table. In this plea agreement, the state agreed to drop all the 9 capital charges. So that would be the counts of burglary, kidnapping, arson, SA theft, the weapons charges, and the assault charges. And they agreed to drop all of that if he pled guilty to the 4 counts of first-degree murder with no limits on sentencing for the murders. Remember that. And Richard thought this was sweet. He was about to go from 18 counts to 4? Bet. So on August 16th, 1995, Richard Djerf pled guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder. And he further went on to describe the day and the actions of the murders. That's why we know exactly what happened once he entered the Luna household. Now, here's the thing about that plea deal. The plea deal was to plead guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder with no limitations on sentencing for the murders. So, Richard thought he was smart, but the prosecution was smarter because they put that no limitations on sentencing. So the death penalty was still on the table for the murders. Now, if Richard was smart, he would have asked the prosecution to reduce those to, I don't know, second-degree murder, manslaughter, or something like that, and drop all of the 18 counts. Or he could have asked them to drop those 4 counts altogether, and he would plead guilty to the other, 14 counts? Now, I don't think the prosecution would have went for that at all. Neither one of those. But I mean, it would have been worth a try. Because pleading guilty to the 4 capitals with no limitations on sentencing, baby, the death penalty is still on the table. And on May 22nd, 1996, Richard was sentenced to 4 death sentences because he didn't read the fine print. And as far as I know, all of his appeals thus far have been denied, and he remains on death row to this day. But yeah, y'all, that is all I have for today's case. Thank you all so very much for watching. I will see you all next week when we are in Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas. When we are in California, Arkansas. Bye. So from Arizona, Alabama. No, Alabama is first. So from Alabama to, now I don't know the states in order. What the hell? Alabama to Wyoming. Okay. So, and today we are in Arizona. So it's close to midnight on September 20, no. So it's close to we're not doing this today. So it's close to midnight on September 24th. I keep saying 24th. It's the 14th. Jesus. Okay. So it's close to midnight on September 14th, y'all, that scared the shit out of me. But in what? In addition to. But in 1990, what? And then it was taken in for processings. And in this plea agreement, the state, what? Agreed. Damn. Richard thought he was smart, but the prosecutions were smarter. But the